The squat prehab phase 2 integrates all of the joints that we worked on in phase 1 and adds in spinal movement. So it's suggested that once you have phase 1 successful and mapped in your body and comfortable moving through those ranges of motion, that you can move on to phase 2. It's also nice to think about using phase 1 as a warm-up for phase 2. So here is the squat prehab phase 2. So we're going to resume our position of working in this high squat stance with our knees over our toes. And the first exercise is going to be a small lunge squat. So the way that this works is you'll take your right foot and you'll step it forward ever so slightly, keeping the knees over the toes with your spine vertical. You squat down, bending this left foot, and you come back up. And we do come back and then do the other side. So step forward, keeping the knees over the toes, come back up, and come back. And we'll do this 5 times. Pay attention to where your pelvis is in space as you take that step forward. Are you able to keep your knees over your toes and your pelvis in a relatively neutral position as opposed to sticking your butt out either on the way down or on the way up? So verticality is your friend. Next, we're going to add a rotation to this lunge. And so the way that this works is you're going to take your right foot, turn it out, and then with your left knee, you're going to bring it, lowering it to the pinky side of that right foot. And you're going to come back up and then back. So you start in your high squat, left foot turns out. You're going to bring your knee down to the pinky side of the left foot, and then back up and return to your squat. So this works on your external rotation of one leg, keeping the spine vertical the whole time, and playing with how you want to push off from the ground when you get down low. You can keep this back foot on the toes on the ground, or you might also choose to push off with the top of your foot. I would say keeping the toes on the ground is a little bit easier. Adding a push off from the shin or the top of the foot is a little bit challenging and works a different part of your foot. The next exercise is a high squat stance. We're going to externally rotate the right foot, and we're going to laterally extend to the left. Coming back to center, externally rotate the left, laterally extend to the right. And you'll just go back and forth 5 times on each side. Really keeping your waist and your shoulders aligned, like you're stuck between 2 panes of glass. And being mindful of keeping your high squat stance throughout the practice, which means, rotate so you can see, keeping your knees in front of your toes. One more on each side. The next exercise is to bring this same external rotation and lateral fold but into a low squat. So start in your high squat stance and bend your knees so you come into a low squat stance, however that feels good to you. Ideally, your whole foot is on the floor. You're going to place one knee on the ground, fold in the opposite direction, come back to center, and shift to the other side. And be sure to do these slowly. So you want to lower that knee to the ground with control. One more each side. Awesome. From here, we're going to stay in this low squat position. You're going to lower one knee to the ground in this external rotation. And from there, I tuck my bottom toes under and I find a seated position. From my seat, I'm going to return to my squat. And I'm going to do the other side. So I lower to a seated position, coming back up, tuck my toes, return to a squat. And as you're getting used to this, your hands can be there to support you, to help you find the positions that you are working towards achieving. And then as you become more comfortable with the movements, you can make it your goal to not put your hands on the ground. Keeping the spine vertical the whole time. Wonderful. Feel free to stand up and take a little walk around. We're going to return to our high squat position. And now we're going to work internal rotation. So with our pelvis slightly tucked under and our knees bent and over our toes, we are going to internally rotate and come back. Internally rotate the other leg and back. As you find this internal rotation, same as with the external rotation, can you keep your knee over your toes in that ankle flexion and your pelvis under your shoulders and your spine moving vertical. 2 more on each side. Last one. From here, we're going to return to our low squat, and we're going to find our internal rotation on the ground. So do 5 of those. 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you guessed it, we're going to take this low squat internal rotation to a seated position, coming back off the ground, back to your squat. So internally rotate, put your left knee down, tuck your toes, coming onto your shin to a seated position with your spine tall, back up to your shin, toes under, back to your squat. Internally rotate, sit down to the ground, come back up, toes under, 3 more of these. Last side here. Wonderful. You can give that a little walk around. The last exercise will be our alpine skier position, and we're going to add lateral movements in with the upper body like we did last time, but we're also going to be lowering to the ground. So the feet can be a little bit wider than your shoulders, which is a bit wider than we've been doing these other exercises. And as you lean to the right with your lower portion, you lean your upper body to the left as a counterbalance, and slowly start to bend your knees as you do this, so you're coming down into elbow squat. From here, rotate your torso 5 times in your lowest squat position. One more on each side. 1, 2, and now you're going to prepare to come back up in the same way. Very slowly, try to get 3 rotations of your torso in. So rotate. Slowly. Ending in your high lunge position. And that ends phase 2 of squat rehab.